Picture this. It's winter in 2010. It's probably around 7 p.m. and your giant-backed, yet flat-screen TV is on, warming up the room. And what else is on the screen than the Wii menu? Your family all gathers around and sits on the couch as you pop in the Wii Sports disc. Everyone grabs their respective Wiimote, as everyone seems to have assigned themselves their own color since the day they picked them out at the store. You boot up Wii Sports, and you and your family are having a great time with a game that was bundled with the system for free. When does a thing like this ever happen today? The answer is, it really doesn't. So I thought today I'd take a step back to a time when things were a bit simpler, and see why maybe sometimes less is more in the case of the Nintendo Wii. After the slow downfall Nintendo had seen since the NES and SNES, they realized they couldn't keep making a console to compete with Sony and Microsoft without something unique about it. So in 2001, Nintendo began brainstorming ideas for their next home console. They knew right away that this console would be less focused on graphical capability and more on new concepts and ways to play games in a less traditional form. And yeah, this is how I describe the Wii. They started working on motion detection and filed patents for what we know now as the Wii Remote, or Wiimote. So over the next couple years, Nintendo worked on the Wii and DS as the GameCube pushed on, fighting the good fight against the most popular DVD player of all time and the online gaming powerhouse that was Microsoft's Xbox. In 2004, the DS was Nintendo's next major success, as while their home consoles had been falling off in terms of sales and mainstream appeal, their handhelds were still the best selling on the market, with no real competitors and some great games. And the DS was no exception, even with a more unique hardware design that gave way to new gameplay experiences that in the end let Nintendo know that consumers were willing to buy a product that had its own new style that may seem like a gimmick, but in reality is a whole new way to experience games that actually open up the handheld to mainstream appeal, just like the Wii later down the line. At E3 2004, the name Revolution was dropped as the title for Nintendo's next home system that was later unveiled the next year at E3 2005. And right away, they wanted everyone to know that this system was sleek and small and fit right in the entertainment center, as the original PS2 and the Xbox were behemoths that took up way too much space. So the Wii followed the idea of the PS2 Slim and went with a compact design to be a much neater set piece. At Tokyo Game Show in September of 2005, the prototype Wiimote was unveiled, and man, I really want this lime green one. It looks so clean. Now finally, with all the pieces in place, it was time. In April of 2006, Nintendo finally unveiled the name Wii, with the two lowercase i's representing two people standing side by side, just to show how multiplayer focused this console was. And also, Wii sounds like Wii, so that too. Like, they really wanted people to know that this was the console for everyone, yet somehow Sony's DVD player still won. People may not have liked the name and found it goofy, and the so-called hardcore gamer crowd was not impressed, but 101 million sales don't lie. The Wii first launched on November 19th of 2006 for $249.99 in the US, 25,000 Japanese yen on December 2nd. Australasia received the Wii on December 7th for $399.95 Australian dollars, in the UK on the 8th for £179.99, and lastly in the rest of Europe for €249.99 euros. But wait, there's more actually, as the Wii didn't even release until April of 2008 in South Korea, July of 2008 in Taiwan, and finally in Hong Kong in December of 2009, over 3 years after the Wii's initial launch. But hey, finally the console for everyone was everywhere. The ads for the Wii around this launch period were some of the best of the era, with the most classic of the classic being "We Would Like to Play," and shows exactly why the Wii was such a success right out of the gate, with 20 million sales its first year, while the current best-selling system, the Switch, had 17.8 million its first year. It was evident from the start that the Wii was a console meant for everyone, and Nintendo made sure nobody could forget that. And in 2006, then President Satoru Iwata said that he didn't even think of Nintendo as trying to compete with Sony anymore, as Xbox and PlayStation pushed on with more powerful consoles focused on more quote-unquote hardcore gaming experiences, while Nintendo was planning to expand the gaming demographic. The Wii was never aimed at being a powerful console, and really was just a bit more powerful than the GameCube, just with motion controls. But speaking of the GameCube, you could just go ahead and sell that old thing, because the original models of the Wii had full GameCube backwards compatibility with the games, controllers, and memory cards, meaning that if you weren't 100% in on Wagglefest 2006, you could play your old GameCube classics as well, no problem. All this in a package that was only $250? Well, the Wii was supposed to be even cheaper, as Miyamoto planned for the console to be only $100, by just focusing on the console's interface and software rather than technology. But as time went on, this turned out to be pretty impossible without it being pretty terrible. The Wii actually had upgraded internals from the GameCube, with 1.5 to 2 times the power internally, and with 20% less power consumption, but it was really just rarely utilized to its full potential, and was still nothing compared to the 360, and especially not the PS3. But a big thing the Wii did that the 360 and PS3 didn't have the immediate foresight to do was have built-in Wi-Fi into the console to just add to the convenience factor that the Wii was meant to be known for. And while it wasn't much, the Wii did come with half a gig of storage, which is nothing today, but plenty for 2006, as all games were on discs, and the space was relegated to the new features the Wii brought to the table, that we will get to soon enough. While the Wii may have only had half a gig of storage, the original Xbox 360 model had none, but the PS3 did have 20 and 60 gigabyte models available at launch, yet they were over twice the price of the Wii. The Wii even came with 2 USB ports, along with an SD card port for extra storage and to put photos onto the console. But now those ports are just another gateway to homebrew. Homebrew links in the description as always. While the Wii itself is great, let's get to the real star of the show. What actually made the Wii the Wii? And that is the Wiimote, and its trusty sidekick, the nunchuck. This thing was jammed full of technology that made swinging the bat in Wii Sports so real. And while this thing is seen as a joke today, it was a serious innovating game changer back in the day, especially with the fact that it's connected wirelessly through Bluetooth natively. The Wiimote may look a little weird, and is clearly designed after a TV remote, so much so that there is a literal Wiimote TV remote. But the Wiimote is like this to appeal to the masses, yet it still has your standard control layout for most 2D games, with a D-pad, bumper, start and select, and 1 and 2 replacing the traditional A and B, and the new A and B being mainly for the Wii's flagship titles, where it's either paired with the nunchuck to add extra functionality with a second trigger and bumper along with the thumbstick, or just to be used to select or grab things while using the motion controls. All this to say that, yeah, the Wiimote is a lot more complex and fascinating than many of us give it credit for. So while the Wii Remote on its own allowed you to play a lot of Wii games that were purely just swinging of the remote, we can't forget about its partner in crime, the sensor bar. For games like Wii Play, Call of Duty, or even the Wii Menu that require you to aim at the TV, the sensor bar made this possible by giving the functionality of your standard computer mouse, except now it just feels so much more involved and immersed, while all you're doing is pointing a remote at a TV. Also, can't forget about the fact that you can just use 2 candles as a sensor bar somehow, as what the Wiimote does is use the infrared lights inside the controller to like triangulate the position of where you're pointing or something. I'm not super versed on this sort of stuff, but something I am a little more knowledgeable about is some of the Wiimote's siblings. While the Wiimote and Nunchuck allow you to play just about every Wii game you'd want, maybe you yearn for a more standard control layout, and that is where the classic controller comes in. Now, this gives you a standard SNES layout with some added thumbsticks that are just a little bit too close together, which is why I sprang for the more beefy brother, the Classic Controller Pro. Now, this thing is great for games like Mario Kart, Call of Duty, or various virtual console games, as it has a much more comfortable layout with thighs and more spread out thumbsticks. And while these things feel pretty quality, they're also very light due to them getting their power from plugging into the bottom of the Wiimote itself. So while you're using the classic controller, you still have to have the Wiimote close by, which can get annoying, but kept these controllers cheap, which is part of what made the Wii so successful and easy to justify purchasing. Now we're on to my favorite part, the Wii Menu. That ambience is blissful. And the design to look like channels to give it a more TV feel, with empty slots having static, and using the Wiimote reminiscent of your everyday TV remote, set this menu up for success. Everything is right here. You have the Wii logo at the bottom indicating where the settings would be, the SD card icon, so you know that's where you can access whatever may be on there, whether it was photos or games in the past, or now whatever homebrew stuff you've got. The total really not necessary, but super neat time and date that just adds a little extra charm. The mail icon at the bottom right so you know exactly where to check for messages, and the Wii let you know you had one by lighting up blue on the console itself, which once again is just a small thing that goes a long way. But lastly, we have the stars of the show, the channels, and here are the mainstays. We've got the Me channel. For a gaming console, you wouldn't think you'd spend so much time in an app where all you do is design avatars, or in this case, Miis. But Nintendo made it so intuitive and easy that it was so fun to just make Miis of you and your family members, and in my case here, various Family Guy characters and such. And Miis weren't just for show here in the Me channel. No, they could be used in tons of Wii games to add to the immersion as you are playing as yourself or your favorite characters. Such a good channel. Perfection. Next up is the Photo channel. And while I don't have much experience with the Photo channel, I know plenty of people have good memories of messing with photos they put on here and sending them to friends. Another great channel. Alright, next are the forecast and news channels, and I will not accept any crap about these channels, as I don't care how lame the news is or how boring the weather can be. These channels made it interesting, with just a simple but perfect design that makes me so nostalgic for the era of when iPhone apps used to look like this as well. But we can't forget the music. Oh, this is some somber shit that makes me miss when times were so much simpler. Where did the time go? Sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. I get emotional talking about old weather and news apps, don't ask why. But now we have the classic that is responsible for half of all YouTuber background music. The Wii Shop channel. Ooh, this is a good marketplace, and I plan to make a video on the various eShops Nintendo has in the future. But for now, let's just take a look at this masterpiece. Right away, you get this spinning wheel, and you just wait with the sound of only the wheel spinning until... Ooh, this song is perfect. A bit overused now, but still perfect. It just makes you want to open up that wallet and get to spending. As here, you could access apps like the internet channel, where you could literally browse the internet on your Wii, just like a computer, except 10 times slower. The Everybody Votes channel, where you could vote on just random topical discussions at the time. The Check Me Out channel, where you and others across the globe could show off your crazy, wacky Miis. The Nintendo channel, where you could get updates on Nintendo news from Nintendo's own show, Nintendo Week. Lots of super interesting channels we didn't get here, like ones where you could literally order pizza, the various streaming channels, but the main one I remember is the Netflix channel, except my family used the Netflix disc for some reason, but hey, I'm not complaining. This thing is cool to have, even if it's worthless. There were some apps on here, but the main thing you went to the shop channel for was virtual console games and WiiWare. Oh yes, not only were there the obvious Wii games that came on discs, but games you could download from the shop channel. You could play NES, SNES, Sega Genesis, Master System, TurboGrafx 16, and CD, Neo Geo, Commodore 64, arcade, and N64 titles all on one system, meaning that with the GameCube compatibility built in, you could play across the whole history of Nintendo consoles on one console, plus various other great systems. Virtual Console was really a game changer, launching with Donkey Kong, Mario Bros, Pinball, Soccer, Solomon's Key, The Legend of Zelda, and Wario's Woods on the Wii's launch day, November 19th, 2006, and Super Mario Bros being a special Christmas Day release that same year. You really couldn't beat how much charm Nintendo had in this era. But wait, let's not forget about WiiWare. WiiWare games were titles made specifically for the Wii Shop channel most times, and were either complete garbage or some great time wasters. WiiWare launched on May 12, 2008 with Defend Your Castle, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, My Life as a King, Lost Winds, Pop, TV Show King, and VIP Casino Blackjack. And while none of these titles are really wowing me, you've got to look at the titan WiiWare titles of the era, with Dr. Mario Online RX, which, like the name states, an online version of Dr. Mario, Tetris Party, a multiplayer Tetris game, and Mega Man 9 and 10. Wholly new Mega Man games made during the retro revival craze that looked and played just like Mega Man 2, but 20 years later. There are tons of great WiiWare titles that I'm not going to be able to get into here, but they really do need to get ported to more modern consoles instead of just rotting on a now dead marketplace that only lives on in the form of homebrew, the savior of any old and somewhat obsolete system. So now, what channel is left? Oh, none other than the disc channel, where you could go to play the big boy Wii titles. When you open up the channel, you'll see the Wii disc spinning, and on original Wii models, you'll also see the GameCube disc spinning, which is a nice touch. But once that disc popped in, boom, your game was loaded and ready to play. So I think now is a better time than any to get into the Wii's games, and where else to start than the launch? The launch of the Wii was actually a lot like the Switch, if some of y'all remember how chaotic that was, or like the PS5 is now. Everyone wanted one, but you just couldn't find it anywhere, and this lasted for a long time. As more people got their hands on one, they told their friends and family about it. It really just spread like wildfire, but once you got your hands on one, you got your choice of 26 launch titles, those being Avatar: The Last Airbender, Barnyard, Call of Duty 3, Cars, Dragon Ball Z, Budokai Tenkaichi 2, Excite Truck, GT Pro Series, Happy Feet, Madden NFL 07, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, Metal Slug Anthology, Monster 4x4 World Circuit, Need for Speed Carbon, Open Season, Rapala Tournament Fishing, Rayman Raving Rabbids, Red Steel, SpongeBob SquarePants Creature from the Krusty Krab, Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Double Agent, Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam, Trauma Center Second Opinion, World Series Poker, and last but not least, the pack-in title that was really all anyone needed, Wii Sports. You can't really have a conversation involving the Wii without Wii Sports barging in, and it's obvious why. This game showed off exactly what the Wii was meant to be. When you buy most consoles now, you don't really get any games unless you're buying a bundle, in which you are probably spending even more money than the retail pricing. But back in 06, you spent $250 on the Wii, and you got Wii Sports. You got home, unboxed the beaut, and popped in that Wii Sports disc. The game works because it just plays how you think it would. You swing the remote to play tennis, baseball, golf, bowling, and when you plug in that nunchuck, you've got both arms ready for boxing. And all your family and friends were in on it 100%. I don't think there's really a game as timeless as Wii Sports. It's sort of an arcadey title with not really any unlocks, but it's so addicting to try to go for that high score on bowling or reach pro status. I mean, it even came with extra modes if you got bored with the standard ones. Like, this was essentially a free game with endless hours of play at our fingertips that hasn't ever been replicated since. Sorry for dragging on about Wii Sports, but it's just necessary for the discussion. The Wii had respectable sales numbers its first year, but if you look at this chart, around 2008 was peak pandemonium for both the DS and the Wii, as seen here, because you had the big boy titles hitting shelves over the past year and a ton in 2008. Mario Galaxy, Metroid Prime 3, and Wii Fit came out the year before, but 2008 brought with it Mario Kart Wii and Smash Bros. Brawl. And having both a Smash title and a Mario Kart are all a Nintendo system needs for success, as while these games can be chill games for the family to enjoy, as they can be easy to pick up, if you want to master these games, you can put tons of hours into them and face other skilled players in online play. Oh wait, did I not mention that the Wii has online play? Finally, in this generation of Nintendo, on both their DS and Wii systems, they threw in online compatibility, so you could play against other players across the world. And while they may not have worked the best, it was good enough to breathe that much more life into Mario Kart Wii and DS, as well as Smash Bros. Brawl, and even the various Call of Duty titles on the Wii that had a surprisingly large amount of players on them, despite being a more Xbox and PlayStation focused franchise. So the Wii was hitting it off with tons of success in its first couple of years, so you know what that means, redesign time. The original Wii model was the RVL-100 model, and these are the ones that include GameCube compatibility. But in 2009, Nintendo released the RVL-101 model that stripped GameCube compatibility and was meant to be laid on its side, along with a budget price point of only $150, which was $50 less than the original Wii model, as it had received a price cut to $200 in September of 2009. This new Wii model was there to get those stragglers who weren't dead set on picking one up yet to just bite the bullet and grab one, as the price was even less of a deal breaker than it ever was before, even if the Wii was relatively inexpensive from the start. But maybe people just needed a little extra push to get them to pick one up. Just one more incentive, and that incentive came in the form of a revision of an old friend, that being Wii Sports Resort. Wii Sports Resort came with 12 different sports, a far cry from the original's 5. You've got swordplay, disc golf, cycling, wakeboarding, archery, bowling, air sports, basketball, power cruising, frisbee, table tennis, and canoeing. And each of these sports had multiple different game modes in them that just multiplied the game's worth tenfold. Now a little later, you'd see Wii's bundled with Wii Sports Resort, but at the time of its release, it was a standalone title that cost $50. Keep in mind that a lot of Wii games were $40, so why the extra $10? That's due to the the age-old Wiimote pack-in and the obligatory Wii Motion Plus adapter that made Wii Sports Resort possible. You weren't even able to play Wii Sports Resort without this thing, as Resort required a whole extra level of accuracy to function properly. While I'm sure to some degree it could work with the standard Wii remote, it just wouldn't be the same, and the game makes sure you know this by pausing the game every time you accidentally touch the Motion Plus adapter. So to resolve this issue, Nintendo released the Wii Remote Plus in November of 2010, that now was the same size as a standard Wiimote, but with Wii Motion Plus baked inside. This is of course the definitive Wiimote, and back in the day, I had a black one. That was like my Wiimote. I don't know why it was so important to me, but it was. Now I have this sick red one that has a matching nunchuck, so I can't complain, but I do still want my black one back. During this time period, we were in a weird stage of Wii. We were almost to 2011, and the Wii success was dying down. As people grew up and got into the more hardcore scene of the PS3 and 360, or people who got a Wii when it was a fad, simply left it to collect dust. But there were still plenty of amazing Wii titles that came out over the last couple of years. 2009 also brought us the Wii's big Mario game with New Super Mario Bros. Wii, which was an amazing multiplayer title. I used to play with my family and friends all the time, as it had great 4-player integration that could get a bit chaotic at times, but was fun nonetheless. Metroid Prime Trilogy came out and is now a hot commodity at its price point, but it is the definitive way to play the Metroid Prime series. Wii Fit Plus, a revision of the original Wii Fit with extra game modes, and while I never had Wii Fit Plus, I did have the original, which was an amazing use of the Wii balance board that acted as a scale, and I have no idea how this thing worked, but it turned your body into the controller, as you didn't even need the Wiimote. It was actually a super neat way to get people to play games while also working on their fitness. 2010 brought the sequel to Mario Galaxy that fans are divided on, as some say its gameplay style is better than the original and they like the more linear design, and some prefer the freedom the original Galaxy had. I just remember having a Mario Galaxy 2 poster in my room for the longest time until my cat decided to destroy it, but it's whatever. Donkey Kong Country Returns, a great return to the beloved franchise that started all the way back on the SNES, and this is such a perfect modernization of the games that many like, but did complain about the over-reliance on motion controls, which were later done away with in the 3DS release. Wii Party, a simple party game for the Wii, for those who'd rather use their Miis than Mario characters. You had Wii Party and Mario Party, and while Mario Party may be better in some cases, you can't really go wrong with either. Sonic Colors came out as well, which fans seem to love, but I've never played, as I'm more of a classic Sonic fan. But what I have played a lot of is Kirby's Epic Yarn. This is probably my favorite Wii game besides Wii Sports, but it is a super great take on the Kirby franchise, bringing the beloved series back to the console world after not having a mainline console entry since the N64. The way they got so much more creative with this game by utilizing the fact that Kirby is literally yarn and can transform into all sorts of stuff is so awesome. And the more recent 3DS release is also an amazing time. I love this game. Now 2011 is here, the year of the 3DS, and with this, Nintendo's focus on the Wii dwindled, as they also had a new home console in the works that many thought would be a Wii HD to be released this year, as the Wii never had an HDMI port, and as this began to become standard, the component and composite cables just weren't cutting it anymore. Nintendo was pushing the Wii aside in favor of future products, but the Wii wasn't quite done yet, as 2011 gave us Skyward Sword, which is a Zelda game people didn't like too much at first, but now you'll see tons of people say it's one of the best in the franchise, along with Kirby's Return to Dreamland, which was your more standard Kirby game coming after Epic Yarn, but it wasn't bad by any means, as I used to spend tons of time after school back in the day playing this with one of my friends, and it's a great modern take on the classic Kirby formula. While we did get some great titles here, it really was the end of the era of classic Nintendo, as we got the 3DS, which of course is amazing, and the following year we got the Wii U, which of course didn't sell well and kind of started another downfall of Nintendo, but we've already discussed this. 2012 was the last true year of the Wii, and we got Xenoblade Chronicles, which I know fans love, but I've never played it, even though it looks great. Rhythm Heaven Fever, which is a super fun sequel to Rhythm Heaven on the DS, which is just an amazing rhythm game to play, either in long sessions or bite-sized periods of time. Mario Party 9, which is one of the car ones that people don't like. I'm more of a Mario Party DS guy, so I'll stay out of this argument. And the last big Nintendo release, Kirby's Dream Collection for the 20th anniversary anniversary of Kirby. The Wii really was a Kirby renaissance, and this is a great way to go out with a bang as the perfect send-off for the Wii, as the Wii U and 3DS took over, as the future seemed somewhat uncertain with Nintendo having a super profitable handheld and a console that was burning all those profits. But the Wii did have one last trick up its sleeve that really, it probably should have stayed there, because the trick was the Wii Mini. Oh boy, the Wii Mini is an unnecessary last-ditch effort of a cash grab that really just goes to show how much Nintendo has started to change in this era, as the Wii Mini was a cheap hunk of junk that was now a top loader and stripped of any form of online capabilities, meaning that the only games that worked were the ones on discs, no shop channel, no Netflix or anything. Like, imagine if they put an HDMI port on here and labeled it as like the Wii Stream or something, because during this time everyone was getting obsessed with Roku streaming boxes. I mean, I know my family did because we had like 4. Everyone had one. And the Wii Mini was only $100. It was first test released in Canada in December of 2012, but was later released in Europe in March of 2013 and the US all the way in November of 2013. A whole year after the Canadian launch and 7 years after the initial Wii launch. But hey, at least the American release came bundled with Mario Kart Wii along with a red Wii Remote Plus, while the Canadian and European releases just got the console and the Wiimote. Either way, it's safe to say this thing didn't sell well, as everyone who wanted a Wii really already had one, and the Wii was totally phased out at this point, so really the Wii Mini was not necessary at all. So as of 2013, the Wii was dead, right? Well, it would have been if it wasn't for Just Dance, which just kept coming out for the Wii until Just Dance 2020, when the Wii U's last Just Dance title was actually Just Dance 2019. But wait, the last Wii game wasn't Just Dance 2020, because in Australia, Europe, and Asia on July 9th of 2020, Retro Rampage Deluxe and Shakedown Hawaii were released on the Wii. The Wii's last game came out 14 years after its initial release, which I think gives it one of the longest lifespans, as the last PS2 game came out in 2013, when it came out in 2000. Okay, but seriously, the Wii is dead to Nintendo now, as all their focus is on the Switch, as they're pretty much killing the Wii U and 3DS next year when they shut down their respective eShops. All that will be left is the soulless core of Nintendo, that is the Nintendo Switch. I mean, the Switch has some amazing titles, and I do love the thing for these games, but the system and UI itself are just super bland and boring, and I feel like I've talked about this in almost every video I've made, but it just hurts me so much to see the Nintendo I grew up knowing now being a shell of its former self. I mean, come on. They're literally run by Bowser now. It makes sense why they're so greedy. The Wii doesn't get enough credit as I think it deserves for what it did for the gaming landscape as a whole. Everyone saw it as a joke, but it was really everyone's first streaming box, even if you had to pop in the Netflix disc. I mean, is it really all that different from using your smart TV today and opening up the app? I mean, some TVs even come with remotes that have a motion sensor in them just like the Wiimote. Also, don't forget about virtual reality. I mean, the controllers are really just a distant relative of the Wiimote. It's hard to ignore once you notice it. Not to mention the fact that Sony and Microsoft saw the insane success Nintendo had with the Wii and decided to make their own motion-based add-ons for their consoles. The Wii really innovated in a way that I think the closest level of innovation to it now is the major advancements being made in virtual reality, and I really hope Nintendo can snap out of this funk they're in right now and get back in the game of what they do best, making fun, family-oriented systems that anyone can get in on. We are lucky to have an amazing homebrew community that keeps the Wii alive, with bringing back online capabilities after Nintendo shut them down in 2014, giving access to WiiWare and Virtual Console titles after the Wii Shop channel was shut down in 2019, and lots of other stuff that Nintendo probably doesn't like too much. As always, homebrew links are in the description, and I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's watching, as I really do enjoy making videos on these topics that I truly care about, and I'm glad people want to watch them. It really means a lot. So enough said, thanks again, and I hope y'all have a great day.